Dogs usually initially pull just because their gaits are faster than ours, and then from there they learn that pulling usually equals getting access to what they want. So we accidentally generally reward this behaviour by continuing to move forward or in the direction the dog wants to go when they do pull. So if we think of it from the dog's point of view, they've learnt that to get the thing that I want, I'll pull and I'll get there. So if you even intermittently reward that, so sometimes you don't let them do that but sometimes you do, you're still going to have a lot of trouble getting over pulling on lead. So it's important that consistency is your number one priority. Once you've decided that you're going to learn loose lead walking, you never continue forward when the lead is tight. Every time that you do walk forward, you reward the dog, and rewarded behaviour is more likely to occur in the future. As for equipment, the best kind is comfortable. So you're going to be looking at either a flat collar, but if your dog is a puller, you're probably better off with a harness. So the best kinds of harnesses are Y-shaped, they don't impede any movement of the shoulder muscles, or some of the standard front attach harnesses that are fitted correctly can also have the same effect. Now it is best to have the front clip. The front clip works to direct your dog back around when it has pressure on the front, as opposed to a back clip that applies pressure pulling them backwards, but that can work against you. Dogs, like people, have something called a oppositional reflex. It's not a true reflex, but when someone pushes you, you don't just fall over unless you get off balance, you push back. So the dogs have the same thing with that. When they feel pressure on their back from a back clip, it makes them want to move forward or away from the pressure. They want to oppose the force. So you're better off, ideally, with a front clip on your harness. A standard 6-foot lead is the best kind of lead. Absolutely no retraction leads. They are horrible for multiple reasons, including that they're very dangerous, and you cannot teach a dog to loosely walk on a retractable lead. Also, if you can avoid heavy leads or very short leads, initial equipment might not be that necessary. Now, if you've got a dog that has a long history of pulling out in the road, to set them up for success, we might start in the home or in the backyard, in places that the dog doesn't actually associate with pulling, so they can understand the concept of where you want them to be and what you want them to do before you take them out to a more challenging environment. Now, what this also allows us to do is not put their lead on. Now, what that does, it sets the dog up to not fail at all, because there's no lead to pull on, so they essentially can't pull you, which is a good start. And it stops you from using the lead as a tool. Now, the lead is just there to stop the dog from going wherever it wants, but it's not there for you to pull the dog or yank the dog or anything like that. So it stops that temptation of using it if you don't have it on, and that way you can learn the exercises properly before you do apply a lead. So we want to, as directly and clearly as possible, let the dog know where you want them to be, because that is quite a vague concept in a way, but it's close to you. You end up creating this sort of zone around you that is more reinforcing than the rest of the environment, but that takes time to build that up. The first game that I like to play is a bit of follow me game. Now, what this does is, again, it's setting your dog up for a successful training session, because they're always following you, and you should always be ahead of them. In this way, they can't get in front of you into a position where that would let them pull. So they're learning to follow where that reinforcement zone is, and they can't make any mistakes.